Hey everybody, it's lovely to see you, only I'm not actually seeing you, you're seeing me, but it is lovely to speak to you all. This is the first in what I'm hoping will be of many little interviews. We realised we had loads of, as you know, I've had lots of time on my hands recently, just recovering, and I realised we have lots of friends who have amazing jobs and amazing information that I think would be good for you guys. Certainly good for me. The first of which is this is Michael. Hey. And Michael's thing is sleep and nutrition, which is a crucial combination for us. And some of you might know Michael if you he works with Ruth at the Edinburgh Fermentarium, and that's a good link. In fact, is that how you got interested?
Yeah, I was eating some cracking kimchi and I was thinking
award-winning cracking
kimchi, and I was wondering what to do. And my wife said there was a post from Ruth about helping on the stalls, and I thought, why not?
Yeah,
why not?
And you're a real people person as well, and good to talk to, very easy to talk to. So I think that all works really well.
I like it, particularly during lockdown when you don't get to speak to people so much.
Yes, yeah. The markets went back, didn't they? Anyway, that's really interesting. I had my phone here because I was going to pull up a huge list of Michael's qualifications, but particularly of interest social worker, nurse, mental health nurse. You've done a lot of mental health work.
Yeah, particularly in CAMS, many years ago down in Guy's Hospital.
Right.
Before there was such a demand for CAMS as there is now.
Yeah, I was just saying I didn't know what that was, but
child and adolescent mental health service.
Right. Yeah, other people might know what that is, especially if you've needed to use the service. And we'll maybe talk more about that later on, or Caroline will. Guts and the brains, autism awareness, and family. What's the other one? Family facilitator, which again, I've got my daughter's got young kids. And a disruption of the sleeping pattern. It's going to be, it's then it affects the whole family and then behaviour. So it's definitely something that's a hot topic, and Caroline's going to talk about that. And as most of you know, I can talk for Britain, and Michael and I have tried this before, and I just keep interrupting him, as you know that I do. So I'm going to let Caroline do the interview, and if you haven't met Caroline's the person that does all the emails and set up the website, and basically helped save the business along with Carrie when lockdown happened, and set up a new website and answers all your emails. And now I've got to do this as well. So have fun. I hope this interview goes well. And if you've got any questions, we're going to maybe do a second one with people's questions. But we thought we'd fire this out and just see if it's something you guys want to watch and are interested in. So I'm going to sign off now, and we'll let Caroline take over from here.
Hi everyone, I'm Caroline, and I am going to do the interview with Michael today. Thank you for joining us. So, Michael, what's important about sleep?
In a word, everything. Sleep is important for learning. During the day our brain is taking in all sorts of different pieces of information, some of it which is we don't really need. So during sleep we can discard it. Some of it actually quite useful to hang on to, so it decides to keep it. So the new stuff that we're processing at the moment is currently being carried out in the hippocampus, short-term memory part of the brain. What happens in sleep, and particularly during REM sleep, is that information gets filtered, and we keep the stuff that is needed stored in the main body of the brain, where it's more easily retrievable. So for learning, it is important. So students who maybe stay up to 2 or 3 in the morning because they got exam the next day, it's actually it's counterproductive. They're not doing themselves any favour. It is good for helping to regulate weight. When we sleep well, we produce a hormone called leptin. Leptin's really good at helping us to recognise that we're fuller quicker. So we don't overeat, and we don't snack between, or there's a less tendency to snack between meals. When we don't sleep well, we produce a different hormone called ghrelin, and ghrelin does the opposite. It encourages us to seek out food, but it does encourage us to seek out things like smoked mackerel, kale and flax seeds. It encourages us to seek out the calorie dense foods, such as donuts, sugary drinks, biscuits.
Chocolate.
Okay, and chocolate. So it's, and that is a problem because in order to metabolize sugars and simple carbohydrates, you produce more cortisol, which is a problem. It is useful for our immune system. So it's the single most important thing that we can do to boost our immune system is to get a good night's sleep. Isn't that right, Rusty? You know about sleep. So people who sleep well tend to get ill less often, and when they do get ill, they tend to recover quicker compared to someone who doesn't sleep well. It is essential for our emotional resilience. When we sleep well, we are better equipped to cope with the slings and arrows that life throws at us after a good night's sleep. And every single one of us know what it's like to have a poor night's sleep. And then, when we think about how we're feeling the next day, our behaviour, our reactions, our emotions, the tensions that we feel are significantly more pronounced after a poor night's sleep. Now, what you would hope is that, okay, well, I'll go home and have a restful evening and I'll go to bed normally and have I'll reset my sleep. But if this is night after night and week after week, and for some people month after month, and for some more year after year, the impact it has on your mental health is profound.
So, so you're saying that if you have night after night, like you say, almost maybe month after month of not very good sleep, it can actually be really bad for your health. It will have
it will have a significant impact on your mental well-being. It could you will not be coping well, and the chances of being diagnosed with clinical depression would increase by about 400%.
Wow. Okay.
But most of us sense that anyway. When we know that our mood deteriorates when we haven't slept well.
So what is sleeping well?
Sleeping well is where you now that's more difficult to define, but it's where you wake up feeling refreshed. You don't necessarily have to wake up and going, right, I'm ready to take on the world, but when you wake up and you get a sense of being rested, okay, it means that you're able to concentrate, you're able to focus. It means that you're able to try and do new things. It means you're able to cope with stuff from left field, where the unexpected. You're better equipped to cope with it when you've had when you sleep well. Sleep well helps with the aging process. It prevents the release of free radicals, and it can have a significant improvement in positive aging, so that when we go into later life, we do it in a positive frame of mind, and we're still contributing, we're still productive, we're still learning.
Brilliant. And is there a certain amount of hours that classifies, or is classified as sleeping well?
Not necessarily. The 8 hours is a myth.
Oh.
Is a myth.
Okay.
And what you're seeking to do is to get enough sleep for you. So, for example, I cope really well in 7 hours. I can function really, really well, and I can cope with the unexpected well. If my wife got 7 hours, she would kill me or kill her, because she needs more. So she goes to bed earlier and sleeps, probably sleep longer. So it's different. Children need more sleep than adolescents. So it's a myth that adolescents need more sleep than children.
Okay.
Adolescents need slightly more sleep than adults, typically.
Okay.
But so what I would say is you see how you feel. So the first question is, when you say to somebody who has a sleep problem, is how do you know you have a sleep problem?
Okay. Right.
And they say, well, because I'm falling asleep, or I can't concentrate, or I'm nippy and crabby with people around me, and I can't focus. Then you go, okay, then it's.
So you shouldn't worry if you are regularly getting maybe 6 or 7 hours sleep but feeling fine.
Yes.
You're not doing yourself any damage.
Yeah.
What about if you sleep really long amount of hours? So if you're somebody that feels that they need 10, 11 hours sleep a night, is that generally normal?
I think any more than that would be a concern, and it may be indicative of some other health problems.
Okay.
But it really depends how you feel and if you can fit it into your life. You know, if you need 11 hours sleep but you can't fit it into your life, then it's a problem. So you know, the more sleep you get isn't necessarily the best.
Right.
You know. So I think anything over 11 hours, I would probably be concerned.
Okay. On a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about afternoon naps? Are they counterintuitive to a good night's sleep, or are they good for you?
It depends really. If you have a problem with sleeping during the night and your life depends on you being awake during the day, then it's counterintuitive. It doesn't help. If you fit it into your lifestyle and it doesn't affect your quality of sleep in the evening, so then it's fine if you fit it in. So some people have power naps or espresso naps, where they take a cup of espresso, they're able to go to sleep for about 10 or 15 minutes and then wake up and feeling pinged again.
Wow. Okay. I think, was it the Prime Minister, what was her name? Margaret Thatcher. She used to pride herself on power naps. Did she not?
She prided herself that she only had about 4 hours sleep every night. But Margaret Thatcher, depending what side of the political spectrum you're on, look what she did. But also she was affected by dementia.
Ah, right. Okay. Which wasn't apparent until after she finished being Prime Minister?
For a few years after, yes.
Right, okay. Yeah. So the sleep may well have caused the dementia to
the
happen?
likelihood of dementia, sleep deprivation and dementia is increased. No. You can't bank sleep.
Right, okay. There goes my question, okay.
Because the sleep that you get that night benefits you that day.
Okay.
It doesn't. The extra lie-ins you would get on a Saturday or Sunday doesn't benefit you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay. Your body doesn't rest then?
Well, your body rests, but in terms of if you are then sleep deprived, from the rest of the week, then that's a problem. So certainly when you are working on somebody and helping them to fix their circadian rhythms, the sleep patterns, you would advise against having lie-ins at the weekend. Because what you're trying to do is to train your brain to go to bed naturally at a certain time. So go to sleep rather, not bed, which is different, and to wake up at a certain time. Okay, so you're training your brain. So this is your body clock. This is your circadian rhythms. So if you're working on that Monday to Friday, you're getting up for school, 7 to 7:30, and then come the weekend, you go, it's the weekend. We can sleep to 12. When it comes to Sunday night and you have slept to 12 o'clock on Sunday, your natural time to want to go to sleep will be 3 o'clock in the morning, not at a reasonable time where it fits into societal demands of school starts at a certain time, you need to be there, or work starts at a certain time, you need to be there. So until you fix it, until you sort those circadian rhythms out, the advice is don't have lie-ins at the weekend. Once you fix it, you can play around with it a bit. Parents getting up during the night, that is, and sometimes that's unavoidable. Most times it is avoidable. Now, what is better for us when we drift off to sleep is that we self-soothe. We are able to drift off to sleep without a prop. Okay? Because when we go through our sleep waves, we get to points where we're near wakefulness. And sometimes we wake up and sometimes we go straight back to sleep. But when you wake up, and the thing that you need, let me take a step back. If what you do with children is I read them a story until they fall asleep, Okay, so a lot of parents do that. Okay, so that's becomes the prop that the child needs. In order for me to go to sleep, I need mum, dad, or whatever to read a story. Right, so 3-4 hours later, when you come to that wave in sleep where you're close to wakefulness, you wake up. I'm awake. Right. Now, where's that thing I need to help me get off to sleep? She's in the next room. I'll go and get her. Come in. You see, so what you're seeking to do, so it's wonderful to read, and I miss it because my girls are grown up now, but what you, at a point you go, okay, that's story over, kiss, good night, and you allow them to drift off to sleep on their own. Well, it's not unusual because, I mean, again, it's a signal for the brain that so when you're there and you're in bed, and then it's a signal to the brain that I see it's time for sleep, so it releases melatonin. When those prompts aren't there, it makes it more difficult. So then what happens, because the prompt isn't there, then so the brain's not quite sure what to do, so it's not sure if it's time to release melatonin because you're not there. Then what happens is that you start to worry about it. And when you start to worry about it, the game's a bogey. It's over because you've increased your levels of cortisol. So when you increase levels of cortisol, what then happens is the brain is saying there's danger afoot, because it's our fight or flight response. So it's kind of, okay, so if there is danger afoot because you've got raised levels of cortisol, we can't go to sleep. Because there's something wrong, and then we struggle, and the more you can't get to sleep, the more it becomes.
What would be your suggestion then, if you're somebody that frequently wakes up with middle of the night thoughts that run through your head that can't get you to sleep, or patterns that have having somebody that be in your bed and they're not there? What's your suggestion then to kind of break that, or maybe just to get back to sleep?
It's difficult to do that because when you use a cognitive behavioral therapy approach, what you're trying to do is that these thoughts invade your head, and what you try to do is divert them and push them away, and that can be quite an effort. That can work okay. It's kind of, here comes that thought. Another way of dealing with it is of allowing the intrusive thoughts in, but to be comfortable with them being there, and to say, well, I've been expecting you. And so, but in order to do that successfully, one of the things you need to engage in is kind of increased mindfulness or breathing exercises. So, because when the uncomfortable thoughts are there, what you tend to find is your heart is racing, starts to beat a bit faster, and your breathing tends to become more rapid and shallow. Now, you can't slow down your heart rate. You can't go heart rate slow down. You can't directly influence it, but you can gain some control of your breathing. So you can think, you focus on the breath, you bring it in, you let it out. Okay. When you do that, when you start to get control of it, what happens is your heart rate starts to slow down. You slow down your breathing. You slow down your heart rate. So it's about being comfortable with being okay with the uncomfortable thought being there. And rather than it kind of taking control of you, you start to control it. So it loses its power. That's the theory. That's the theory. But it requires effort and it requires belief. Yeah. So in a sleep kind of situation, it takes a bit of time to unravel what's going on. So there's lots of questioning, looking at routines. And when it comes to helping to explain why certain behaviours that on the balance of probability are likely to prevent sleep from happening. So explain what they are, why that is, because people need to be able to understand it, engage with it, and then introduce a different set of behaviours that on the balance of probability will allow sleep to happen more readily. Okay, so it takes a bit of unravelling. So I think podcasts are great in helping to get people to think differently about sleep, but when it comes to your own sleep problems, it needs to take time to think about them, to unpick them, and then to start to put a plan in place to say that this will help you, this will correct it.
Are there any golden rules for good sleep?
If I were to have a golden rule, the first thing would be is more or less get up at the same time every day. So your body clock is set from the moment you get up. And if your waking up times vary considerably, then your body clock will struggle to know what to do. So your brain struggles to know what's going on and to know when to release melatonin. You cannot ignore diet.
Okay.
When you're looking at sleep, and you would seek to reduce foods that are likely to create anxiety, and those are simple carbohydrates and those are sugars, because in order to metabolize the glucose in the liver you need cortisol, which is a stress chemical. So in order to help us to produce the chemicals that we need, the neurotransmitters that we need and the hormones that we need in order to help us to sleep and feel more relaxed, we need to eat foods that contain certain things.
Are there different foods at different times of day then, or different foods you should avoid altogether?
I would say that giving what the half-life of coffee, for example, would be the obvious one, is that for some people the half-life of it stays in the body. If you drink a cup of coffee at midday, there is still some caffeine in the system when you're ready to go to sleep. So for me, I love coffee, and I have coffee in the morning, but I don't have coffee after that. I might have a cup of tea at about 1 o'clock, but then that's my caffeine done, because I know it will affect my sleep later. I would say another rule of thumb is don't go to bed until you're tired. Right. And one of the problems you often find is that people go to bed because they think, well, I need to sleep, or children are sent to bed because, well, they need to sleep. And what happens is you go to bed, you go to lie down, right, okay, I've been told I need to sleep. And you lie there, but it's not coming. And then you worry about it. And then you worry about it. Now, what your brain can then do, because how it makes associations, is that this is, so you're in this place where you toss and turn, where you fret. So it doesn't necessarily link going to bed as you going to sleep. So therefore it doesn't release melatonin. Right. It doesn't. So it seems counterintuitive that some of the first things that we ask parents to do, or individuals to do, if you're working with adults, is keep your child up later until they start to feel tired, so that they get used to actually going to bed and then quickly drifting off to sleep, rather than going to bed, tossing and turning, fretting, worrying about it. So then once you have got that behaviour set, you go to bed, you go to sleep, you can start to bring the clock forward. You go to bed gradually, go to bed earlier and earlier and earlier. So the golden rules are, if you want one, get up at the same time every day. Think carefully about your diet. You need a varied diet. And go to bed when you're tired. When you're working with adolescents in sleep, is also the key thing is use your bed as the place that you sleep. Not where you go on your phone, not where you eat your tea, not where you do your homework. Okay? Because again, it's association your brain makes. This is where you go to sleep. I shall release the melatonin.
And what about reading in bed at night?
If that's something is useful, I would say be careful about page turners.
Okay.
Right. Now, with a page turner, so you're reading something and you're starting to feel tired. Mm-hmm. Right, you're starting, and also it's like watching a program at night, and you're starting to feel tired, so that is an indicator that melatonin is being released, because you're starting to like that. But you want to know what happens to Dumbledore. You need to find out, right? Or you need to see the end of the film, right? So what you then signal is to the brain is, I need to stay awake. So what the brain then does, it stops the release of melatonin. It increases cortisol. So half an hour later when the movie finishes, or half an hour later when you've come to the conclusion, you find out what happens to Dumbledore, you said, right, now it's time for sleep. Because I was tired half an hour ago, so now I should be super tired. What happens? You can't sleep. Because what happened? You've switched the chemicals. You've created a biochemical switch. You've sent a signal going, we need to stay awake. Okay, I stop releasing melatonin, I will increase cortisol. Then what happens? But I need to sleep. But I can't. Okay, really, really try to go to sleep. Never try to go to sleep.
Okay.
It's counterintuitive.
Would you just suggest getting up then?
Just get up, or allow yourself to rest. As what, or you can just allow yourself to just relax. Say, okay, it's going to take a while for this to reset. So get up, maybe do some sort of hand-eye coordination things. Nothing too stimulating. Don't drink anything.
Right.
So I think that those would be sort of the top tips.
Okay. You've explained to us what sleep counselling is, which is part of what you do as a sleep counsellor. How can people get in contact with you if they would like to get you to help them with their sleep issues?
They could email me at michael.adair@hotmail.co.uk.
How do you spell Adair?
Adair,
Okay.
as in Redditor. Or telephone 07555 089 385. I have a website called Inside Out Health and Education, but don't judge me on my website. I have no information about putting together a website.
I think it looks okay, your website.
Oh,
it's
no,
right, yeah. We can flash up the information at the end as well. Caroline can do it.
But because sleep is one of the things I do. I also kind of teach on health and epilepsy, and is a specialty of mine, and looking at mental health generally and what we can do about it. Looking at our well-being and what we can do about it. There's a big thing on there about diet and mental health and the impact of a modern diet on our well-being, and I think it's quite significant.
So Caroline, do you have more questions now? Or?
We have so many questions now for you, but what I think we're going to do is we're going to open up the opportunity for asking you questions to our clients, if that's okay. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask Michael about sleep, email us at team@leith@pilates.co.uk or contact us through Facebook or Instagram, and we will compile, I'm sure, a very large list and condense it down into ones for you to answer another time and date, if that'd be okay.
Oh, yeah.